Welcome to Democratic Television. I'm your host tonight. My name is Sylvia Woods, and we have a guest with us, our 1st District City Councilman, Tommy Smith. And so you can see that we are outside, maintaining the 6-foot distance between us. We're at Fort Dickerson in South Knoxville. So welcome,
Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate that.
I met you over the telephone when you called and said you
That's
were
right.
wanting to run.
That's right.
And then I watched. We had several candidates that were good candidates for a council person. When Stephanie Welch left vacancy and went to work for the city.
Yeah.
And I said, I think it started at 5:30, and I started watching it at 5:30, and about midnight you were sworn in.
That's right.
So it was a long night.
It was.
And lots of questions, lots of interviews, and I had never seen that done with council people before, but it was worthwhile for us to all get to meet all the people who were seeking that position. So I'm glad to welcome you, and I've been wanting to talk to you, so
Thank you.
we had to make it work no matter what the situation was. Why did you want to get involved and be a city council person?
Well, I've cared about Knoxville since birth, and I grew up here and lived here, and now raised my family here. And more than that, I've got a deep heart and a compassion for people who need help. And so, as a result of that, I've been involved in a number of organizations, and grassroots, and corporate organizations that help people in different form or fashion, and from the homeless to education. And so I feel like I've got a good view for the wounds of the city that need improvement. And I also feel like I have a good opinion for what Knoxville has that nobody else has. And so there's not a better place to live in the world, in my opinion, than Knoxville. We've got a really desirable cost of living. We've got natural amenities that God gave us, and there are a bunch of other things, including the entrepreneurial spirit of a lot of the maker community here. And so I feel I have a pretty broad view of the city, and I also know what areas need improvement. And so as a result of that, I've put in a lot of hours to get to know people who serve the community well, and spent years understanding local government because I care, not because I had some grand plan, but because I cared. And so when Stephanie was going to serve in a different way for the city, I felt called to pursue it. And you're right, there were a number of people who stepped forward, and I mentioned it that night, and I'll say it again, that there were a number of people that night that would have been great to fill this role. So I'm honored to serve. I view this as public service more than I do politics. I'm a roll up your sleeves and help type of person. So that's why I felt called to do it.
So give us some of your goals, some things that you want to get accomplished, because you're in a midterm kind of situation.
Yeah. I have a year to get done what most people have 3 years to get done before they consider re-election. So, but I had a little bit of a head start in that I know the city well, and I know what programs exist, which ones need improvement. So I feel like I have a good pulse on what can be done. There are a few things that come to mind. Affordable housing is really important. The urban wilderness, particularly for South Knoxville, is extremely important. Extending that to the other parts of the city, and providing access to that beautiful treasure of the city. Minority entrepreneurial investments, I think, are really important. Being able to invest in a community without displacement. So I have some ideas about incentives in that regard. And education. Education, public schools are a huge part of our community. The county is responsible for those, but there are organizations like Project Grad and Grade Schools that have done a great job of filling in the gaps that we have regarding early education. And there are a lot of things in South Knoxville that I want to get done. Regarding affordable housing, Southside Flats and Young High Flats are a good example of affordable housing. We have a pretty diverse ecosystem of housing in Knoxville, but we need more capacity, and so funding those will be extremely important. And housing navigators. I want to make sure that we have a place where someone can call and say, I either need housing tonight, or I'll need housing next month, or I'm having trouble with my rent, or need to find a new place to live. And housing navigators will be able to identify what housing is available in any shape or form. Regarding the urban wilderness, I want to make sure that we continue to nurture Baker Creek and the investment the city has made there. Providing access to other communities or parts of the community to that area is really important. Chapman Highway, safety issues related to Chapman Highway, which any South Knoxvillian knows some of those challenges. So the city did a good job at studying what improvements could be made to make that corridor safer. There is funding available from the state for infrastructure projects, particularly Chapman Highway, but urgency and alignment of those priorities is going to be something I'm going to really focus on. Related to education, I have a few ideas about how we align, how we set up programs to help young kids and kids graduating. At the earliest level, I think everything I've read suggests that learning a foreign language, learning music or art are one of the most important ways to stimulate the mind and improve IQ for young kids. So I have an idea for a program that allows foreign language to be taught after school for elementary schools, community schools particularly. And at the other end of the spectrum of early childhood education, setting up apprenticeships with employers in South Knoxville and around the community. What's really important as we think about education is, as soon as somebody graduates high school, they're no longer in the county remit, and so they are a contributing citizen to the city then, if they live in the city. And so that happens right after graduation, and Tennessee Achieves and other programs have made it possible for more kids to go to college than ever before. There are still kids that don't and won't, and that's okay, but what we want to make sure is that we give them the tools, empower them, so that there's work available as soon as they graduate. So I'd like to set up some apprenticeships with some private businesses, but also some public organizations as well, so that the junior and senior year of high school kids can graduate with certifications and also be prepared to roll right into full employment with employers who are interested in supporting that. So there are a lot of other things, including residential parking permits. Other things that are really important is
what is that, residential parking permits?
So it's an element that's really important to parts of the city where the downtown urbanization is meeting legacy neighborhoods. And so South Knoxville is a prime example of that, and also in the 1st District, Fort Sanders, where the revitalization of downtown Knoxville is meeting those neighborhoods. And so parking becomes an issue when you have development right next to neighborhoods. So I'd like to do a residential parking permit pilot. It's a lot of P's, but I'd like to try that in South Knoxville. Another issue is the South Waterfront Code. That was designed over 15 years ago and needs an update. So I'm hopeful to lead a committee or a group of residents in South Knoxville to help update that code. Land use as it relates to development meeting legacy neighborhoods will be an important issue, not just for South Knoxville, but for other parts of the city where development is moving down corridors of the city.
So I was involved with the James White Parkway before it ever was the James White Parkway, so I'm still interested in it. I understand the Baker Creek and all the amenities that are coming for that, but I don't want you to forget that the reason that we tried to get that parkway all the way through to John Sevier was because of the traffic on Chapman Highway, and it is a thoroughfare. I mean, it's going to be used. We're not going to give up cars, and we're going to keep on using it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to close Chapman Highway off to where it makes it so hard. There's no other way for us to go. I mean, we can't go Alcohol Highway to get to our part of South Knoxville per se.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. And there's a whole group of people who are still mad.
Yeah.
that.
I understand. I'm of the opinion we can do both. I think we can build something in the urban wilderness that we'll look back on 20 years from now and think that is probably one of the most special parts of our city. We can also make sure that some of these safety enhancements that the city's done well to prioritize can make Chapman Highway safer. It is a highway that connects Sevier County to Knoxville, and people use it for getting through that neck of the woods. Another way to alleviate some of that is Alcoa Highway. You know, the state has put significant money into that, but we can't build our way out of that congestion. And so part of Knox County Planning and Knoxville Planning's priorities for next year is a corridor study of Alcoa Highway. So I think that's going to be really important to think more beyond just lanes and the infrastructure that's put in place now. So all of those are primary kind of corridors or treasures that we have to look after.
Well, we're not going to give up our cars. I mean, I know other people do, but we don't have that public transportation that we can hop on and get where we want to go without getting in our cars. We all love our cars. So what has this virus done to hinder what you try to get done? How has it held you back in trying to get anything done?
Well, in terms of what I think is most important are the areas that we need to improve for Knoxville. I think it just reinforces the need to fund those more. So the economy of Knoxville is headed in the right direction before this. Knoxville traditionally, going back decades, usually weathers economic storms better than most cities our size or even larger cities. So the extremes that are hit from recessions and whatnot, Knoxville usually weathers those well. With that said, programs for people that want to buy houses for the first time, the affordable housing development program will need to be continued to be funded. So I feel like this pandemic is highlighting the areas where we already had need.
Well, that was my second follow-up to that, is what doors have been opened because of it, because we're doing things differently, and so there's some advantages. I see families eating supper together, which they didn't do before, and helping their kids with their homework when they didn't have time to do it before. So it's going back to some of the old-time family kinds of things. You have to make something good out of everything that you think comes bad, and you're right, it has highlighted a lot of the problems that we knew about but didn't pay as much attention to, some of the economic differences. It has, I think it's caused the whole country to look around, and I'm so glad that all the kindness is coming out.
Yeah, I do think
everywhere kindness is coming out.
Yeah, I think, and that's the bright side of this really severe problem, is that volunteerism is part of our city, and I think you see beautiful things from different companies sewing PPE equipment to be used for healthcare providers, and you see nurses staying and working long hours. You see neighbors knocking on doors and checking on folks, and you see different groups coming together. So at the heart of pain is love, and also at the heart of recovery is a certain amount of pouring in of love. And so the number of ways that we will look back and we all showed up for one another, I think will be important to capture. And so
and so many people have learned to make masks, and they'll make hundreds of masks to give away. It feels like they're a part of it and can do something to help. And I think that I get requests all the time. We're making masks. Do you know where to get material? We're making masks. Do you know who to give them to? So I'm kind of like people call me like they call you. They have want to know contacts and where's the best way to do it. And I'm on the Project Help Board, and we talked the other day on the phone, of course, about the stimulus payment. There are people who are getting $1,200 and $2,400 that they could spend, but they didn't have to have it, and they could also donate to those agencies that feed and shelter and utility bills and things that are missing lot of people are missing.
I think one of the important things to remember too is all of the nonprofits in our community. Knoxville has more nonprofits than most cities our size, significantly more. Now the good side of that is that you've got a lot of people willing to help, and I think that's real special to hear. The downside, it means we have a lot of gaps in the community that need to be solved. But those organizations, large and small, that have been showing up for years to help folks, there's funding being redirected to them now because they have those relationships already. So from large organizations like the United Way to really small grassroots organizations locally like the Next Step Initiative, who are making sure the most vulnerable folks have food, rest, and access to health materials. So I think it's also heightening the weaknesses of our community, but it's also highlighting the strengths of the people who serve day after day.
I serve as chair of the Knox County Schools Clothing Center PTA. So I was on the conference call with the agencies from United Way, and the whole subject, the whole topic of the phone call was, what is your agency doing? And I was amazed at how many of the agencies are actually doing a bunch of stuff. The other thing it brought out was the mental health aid part of it. All of this stress on people are really going to cause some damage, and they need that counseling to get over that. And so there was agencies doing that, and then Urban League was helping with getting small loans and putting people to work, because there are still people who are hiring people. So I was really pleased and have been able to report to a bunch of my email groups things that are going on that you need to be able to share so people will know where to get help. And the main thing is to go to 211 because they can tell you all the things that you need.
Yeah, and I think it's also important, it's another good example of how local government and local agencies and local people step up where maybe the national issues don't impact us as much, and I think we're all grateful for that. Knoxville's different. We don't have a lot of the negative discourse that we have elsewhere. We have local government that reacts quickly. I think the city and associated agencies have already deployed a few $1 million into people in need. So it's taken a few months to get federal checks sent out, and so I feel like Knoxville's special. Knoxville's different than the rest of the country, and in a wonderful way. And I think we're seeing the benefits of our community in this weird time.
Well, Project Help is a program that's about 30 years old now, and I've been involved with it from the beginning. And they pay emergency utility bills, heating. It's mostly a winter program, heating, but there's a lot of people now who are going to need help with that. So we upped our level to where people can apply. Some people get the light heat because of their low income. Rich people can pay their light bill, but that working group that now has this emergency, either they've lost their job or they've had a big health issue or whatever, that is available. And that government funds don't go into that at all. It's all donations that comes through KUB and CAC. They both provide the staffing for it, but don't take any money for it. As a matter of fact, they do a lot of bookkeeping stuff for us that we don't have to pay for. So I know that's another avenue. But before we go, I want to know about your family. Tell me about your family.
My wife Jamie is the mother of three of our three children, and Carter is 7, and I have twin boy and girl, Caroline and Avery, and she's the star of the family, my wife that is, and so she does the hard work of raising them most days, and it's a team effort, but she's definitely the stronger of us too. But she's the PTA president also for South Knox Elementary, and so we poured our hearts into that little school, and I got a special little family.
Well, that's great, and you live over here in Island Home, close.
Yes.
Right in the city.
Yes,
so.
I've lived in 4 South Knoxville neighborhoods in my life, so that's where I'll be hopefully for a long time.
Okay, so in addition to this wonderful family, these little kids, and a reason for you to be a council person.
Yeah.
You work at Ackerman Marketing PR.
Yes.
And what do you do there?
Our firm specializes in communications. Most of my work is in strategic marketing plans. So the simple version of that is somebody wants to launch a new company or a new product. We'll research the best way to do that and provide a plan for them. So strategic communications is my day job, and it ranges from crisis to branding. So communications is my day job.
I read an article today where Kathy Ackerman had written and talked about the way we used to do things will not be there anymore. Yeah. We've all learned how to do Zoom or internet calling or group calling, all kinds of stuff. So are you involved in that?
Yes. Yeah. So most of our work is for Knoxville businesses, and so I've been listening quite a bit over the past 3 weeks and consulting with businesses about how they're adapting, and it ranges from restaurants that did no delivery or doing all delivery now, and so I don't want to minimize the amount of businesses that have had to close their doors and stay home, but the businesses that are open are having to do new things. They're having to engage and find new customers in creative ways. Some t-shirt making shops are now all online, and some of those in South Knoxville. So we're all having to evolve. We sure hope that we can return to somewhat of a normal time, but there may be elements that come out of this that both individuals and businesses have to add to their toolkit forever.
Well, parents are having to learn what their children already knew.
Yeah.
How to get online, how to do group talking, and that kind of thing. So it's been a real family kind of thing if you've got somebody at home doing that. Yeah, most of my meetings take place on my son's roll top desk, and he pokes his head. One of the kids usually poke their head into a meeting once a day. So I've been watching television where people are doing it from home, and their kids just can't stand it unless they run through that screen so they can be seen. So
it is cute, and it provides a bit of levity for the situation.
So the first thing I ask you for,
yes,
I mean that's what you're there for, is to bring things to your attention.
That's right.
Ask you for was to see if we could get internet for the participants at South Knoxville Community Center.
Yes.
over on Maryville Pike. It was brought to my attention that the CAC office has internet, the Boys and Girls Club downstairs has internet, but the senior programs and the people who have meetings there's no internet for them to be able to get to. So how's that coming along? I've made
3 phone calls and 2 emails, and I hesitate to promise, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get that done. So hang in there just a little longer.
Oh, don't worry, you will hear from me.
Fair enough.
As you see, we're on television. I'm getting you to say that to
As you should. As you should.
That kind of thing. So how are we on time?
Good. So another 5 minutes or so.
Oh, another 5 minutes.
Okay. We can fill it up if you want to.
We can. We can fill up most of it anyway. I think that there's no stopping us when we start talking.
That's fair enough.
So, is there any of these beautiful parks that you're interested in talking about, telling the people about, so that we can bring people to South Knoxville?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things to do when I need to meet with somebody is to have a coffee and bring it to one of the parks. So this is one of my favorite, Fort Dickerson. I bring the kids up here and we let them run wild, but they love the different military equipment that's up here, and we live next to IAMS, and so we spend a lot of time over there in the water and on top of rocks and on hills, and there's a lot of places to be outside in Knoxville. In fact, Mary Vestal Park's one of the newer parks, and they created the community there, came together with some help of some private businesses and extended the long trail that starts over in the neighborhood, and I sure would like to extend that further to here. Actually, we're not that far from where, maybe a half a mile from where that trail ends. So
we're just up a hill.
We're just up a hill. So that's another one on the list. I've got a handful of things we didn't talk about that I'd like to get done. Extending more trails that particularly would allow you to go from Vestal all the way to West Knoxville on a trail, and I think that would be a wonderful thing. And so,
well, before you leave, I want one more thing. Kearns Bakery. Everybody wants to know what's going on at Kearns
yeah.
Bakery.
I'm glad you asked. I just talked to the developer there last week, and they're forming a community group to consult on as they make progress. They've made good progress. You know, that property changed hands a few times over the past couple of years, and they've been doing construction over there pretty hard. They've taken up a lot of the trees that butt up next to Fort Stanley, but they're required to put back a few hundred of them. So I'm confident that they'll do that.
They're cutting a hill off of there. We keep watching it every time we go to Chapman
they
Highway.
shouldn't cut any more. So that there's markers out right now that are around the perimeter, and they know those. And we've talked recently about making sure that we don't go beyond those anymore. And there's also Fort Stanley up above it. I think that would be a nice addition if somehow we could tie in access to that from that development. The Aslan Foundation owns that property and has preserved it.
Oh, really?
And so if we're going to have a lot of people living down there on Chapman Highway at that Kearns property, it sure would be nice to allow them access to that park. And Legacy Parks, for that matter, has the plan to extend the rail to trail project from Chapman over to Iams, and
It's a shame we've got that track already down and not using it. So.
yeah, well, they're gonna use it in a new way that I think reflects that neck of the woods. So
That's really good. So I want to thank you for coming and talking to me today.
I appreciate it.
This will be on TV on DTV. Democrat television is at 7:30 on Friday nights, all except the first Friday night, which community television has that night reserved. But the other Friday nights, we have different shows each week, and I'm not sure if it will be this coming Friday or the next Friday, but it will also be in the archives for anybody that wants to go to the archives and look to see the shows that we've done, or if they missed that Friday night. I always say that 7:30 on Friday night is not a time you're always watching television.
Right.
Especially in the fall when the ball games, which we hope we will see
Yeah.
ball games
right.
again.
We
So,
really need those.
So we appreciate your service
Thank
to the
you.
citizens of South Knoxville and to all of Knoxville, because when you serve and vote, it's not just for us, it is for the whole city.
That's right.
We all belong to the whole city. We just happen to live on this side of the
That's
river,
right.
which everybody thinks is, across the river. Well, hey, we like it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Our boundaries are defined
That's
by rivers.
right. Yeah, I'm biased, but I like our neck of the woods pretty good.
I was raised here, so
Yeah.
I like it too. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
to
I appreciate it, Sylvia.